Mail-order bride arrived a day too late, the cowboy said. You're right on time for me. Jake had lived all his life on the open plains of the West. His days were long and tiring, spent caring for cattle, fixing fences, and making sure the ranch ran smoothly. Narration. The sun rose early, casting golden light over the fields, and by evening he was usually exhausted but satisfied. Life on the ranch was simple, honest, and sometimes lonely. Breath. He was a strong man with broad shoulders and hands hardened from years of work. But his heart had grown tired of solitude. The ranch was his life, but it wasn't enough. There were quiet nights when he sat by the fire, listening to the wind sweep across the plains, and he felt a deep longing for someone to share his life with. A partner who could laugh at his jokes, help with the daily work, and keep him company through the long winters. Jake had thought about it for years. He had seen many women come and go in the nearby town, but most were not willing to live the hard life of a rancher. The work was too demanding, the days too long, and the nights too cold. He wanted someone who could be both strong and kind, someone who could understand the life he loved but also bring warmth and companionship to it. After much thought, Jake decided to try something he had never done before. He had heard of the mail-order bride system from friends in town. It was a way for men in remote areas to find a wife from another place, often from faraway cities or towns. Letters would be exchanged, pictures sent, and if both parties agreed, a woman would travel to meet the man. It was not an easy decision, but Jake knew he wanted to give it a try. Across the country, hundreds of miles away, Anna was preparing for her journey. She had grown up in a small town much different from the wide open spaces Jake called home. Her life had been quiet, but she always dreamed of independence and adventure. She had always wanted to make her own choices and see the world beyond her familiar streets. When she learned about Jake's letter and the possibility of a new life on a ranch, she felt both nervous and excited. Anna had written back and forth with Jake for months. His letters were thoughtful and honest. He described the ranch, the cattle, the seasons, and his daily routine. He spoke of the beauty of the plains, the quiet nights under the stars, and the satisfaction of a hard day's work. Anna had shared her own hopes, fears, and the things she enjoyed doing. Through these letters, they had learned about each other, and a connection had begun to grow. The day finally came for Anna to travel. She packed her few belongings carefully, making sure she had everything she would need for the long journey. Her heart was full of hope and a little fear. She had never been so far from home before, and the thought of meeting a man she had never seen in person made her nervous. But she reminded herself that this was her chance for a new beginning, a life that she had always wanted. Jake, in the meantime, was preparing as well. Desk. He cleaned the small house on the ranch, making it ready for Anna's arrival. He checked the rooms, swept the floors, and even added fresh flowers to the table. He wanted everything to be perfect, not because he was trying to impress, but because he wanted her to feel welcome and at home. He had never had a woman live on the ranch before, and he knew it would take some adjustment, but he was ready to make it work. The morning she was supposed to arrive, Jake rode into town early. The sun was just beginning to rise, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and gold. He tied his horse outside the small train station and waited, glancing down the tracks every few minutes. Each time he saw a train in the distance, his heart raced with hope, only to sink when it was not the right one. The townspeople were curious about why Jake was standing at the station so early. They had heard that he was expecting a mail-order bride, and some whispered to each other about what kind of woman would come all this way to marry a cowboy. Jake didn't care about the gossip. He only cared about the woman who was traveling across the country to meet him. Meanwhile, Anna's journey was not easy. The train had been delayed due to bad weather, and she had to wait for hours in a crowded station in a city she did not know. She worried that she might arrive too late, and wondered if Jake would be disappointed or angry. She missed her family, the familiar streets of her hometown, and even the small comforts of home. But she kept reminding herself that this was the adventure she had chosen, and she had to keep going. Breaths. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Jake grew impatient but tried to stay calm. He had been waiting for this moment for months, imagining what it would be like to finally meet the woman who had written to him. Desk. He thought about all the letters they had exchanged, all the dreams they had shared, and he hoped that meeting in person would be even better. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, a carriage pulled up outside the station. Anna stepped down, looking tired but determined. Her dress was simple, her hair slightly messy from the journey, but her eyes shone with hope. Jake saw her and felt a strange mix of relief and excitement. She was real. She had come all this way, and even though she was a day late, that didn't matter anymore. Bah. He walked toward her, his boots crunching on the gravel, and tipped his hat politely. "You must be Anna," he said, his voice steady but warm. Anna smiled nervously. "Yes, that's me," she replied softly. Jake noticed the small details about her, the way she held herself, the look of determination in her eyes, and the gentle smile that seemed to light up her face. He realized that this was more than he had imagined. She was brave to make this journey, and he admired her courage. As they shook hands, Jake felt an unexpected connection, a sense of comfort that made the long wait worthwhile. They began walking toward the ranch together, talking quietly about the journey and the road ahead. Anna told him about the delays, the long hours on the train, and the strange towns she had passed through. Jake listened, nodding and offering small reassurances, grateful that she had made it safely. The ride to the ranch was quiet, but filled with small moments of understanding. Anna marveled at the wide-open spaces, the endless fields, and the beauty of the plains. She had never seen anything like it, and she realized that life on the ranch would be very different from anything she had known.
Jake explained the work that needed to be done, from feeding the cattle to fixing fences, and she nodded, eager to learn.
By the time they reached the ranch, the sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows over the fields. Jake opened the door to the small house, letting Anna step inside first. The air smelled faintly of hay and wood, but it felt welcoming. He had done his best to make it comfortable, and he hoped that she would like it. Anna looked around, taking in the small but tidy rooms. She saw the simple furniture, the warm blankets on the beds, and the little touches that Jake had added to make it feel like home. She felt a sense of relief and excitement. This was her new beginning, and she was ready to embrace it. As they sat down together that evening, sharing a simple meal of bread, cheese, and stew, Jake and Anna talked quietly about their lives, their dreams, and the journey that had brought them together. The delay no longer mattered. What mattered was that they were finally here, ready to start a new chapter. Jake realized that sometimes life did not go according to plan. But that was okay. What mattered most was the connection, the understanding, and the willingness to take a chance on each other. Anna felt the same way, grateful that she had made the journey, and that this man, this cowboy, seemed kind, patient, and ready to welcome her into his life. That night, as the stars appeared in the vast sky above the ranch, both of them lay in their separate rooms, thinking about the future. The road ahead would not be easy, but they felt a quiet hope, a sense that together they could face whatever challenges came their way. And for the first time in a long time, Jake felt that his heart had found someone to share it with, even if the timing had not been perfect. The next morning, the ranch was quiet except for the soft sounds of cattle moving in the pens and the occasional crow of a distant rooster. Jake had already been up for hours, tending to the animals and checking the fences, just as he did every day. But today, there was a sense of anticipation in the air. Anna would be starting her first full day at the ranch, and Jake was both eager and a little nervous to see how she would adjust. Anna woke early as well, though it took her a little longer to rise. The unfamiliar creaks of the house, The smell of hay and the faint chill in the morning air reminded her that she was far from home. She dressed quickly, trying to appear confident, though inside she felt a mix of excitement and uncertainty. Today, she would begin learning the ways of ranch life, and she hoped she could prove herself capable. When she stepped outside, she saw Jake already at work, mending a broken section of fence. The sun had just started to rise, casting soft light across the wide fields. Anna took a deep breath, feeling both nervous and ready. She approached him, and Jake looked up, offering a small, encouraging smile. "Morning, Anna," he said. "Ready to start?" "I think so," she replied, her voice steady but a little hesitant. Jake nodded and handed her a sturdy pair of gloves. "We'll take it slow at first. I'll show you what needs to be done, and you can help as much as you're comfortable." Dances. Refill the water troughs, and check the fences for damage. Jake was patient, explaining each task carefully and showing her how to do things efficiently. Anna listened closely, trying to remember every detail. It was harder than she had imagined. The work was physical, the movements unfamiliar, and her arms and legs quickly grew tired. But she persisted, determined not to give up. Jake watched her with quiet admiration. She was struggling, yes, but she did not complain. Her willingness to learn and her determination impressed him. He could see that she had the heart to handle ranch life, even if it would take some time for her to become confident. By midday, they stopped to eat a simple lunch of bread, cheese, and cold meat. They sat under a large oak tree, enjoying the shade and the gentle breeze. Anna felt a little more relaxed now, realizing that Jake was patient and kind, and that he was genuinely trying to make her feel comfortable. "You're doing well," Jake said between bites. "It takes most people a few weeks to get used to this work. You've only been here a day." "I'm trying. I don't want to slow you down." "You're not slowing me down. We work together, that's all." After lunch, they returned to the fields. This time, Jake introduced her to horseback riding, something Anna had never done before. At first, she was nervous, gripping the reins tightly and feeling unsure of how to sit properly. Jake guided her gently, giving her small instructions and steadying the horse when it sensed her fear. Slowly, she began to relax, finding her balance and learning to trust the animal. By late afternoon, Anna was riding with more confidence. The wind in her hair and the sense of control over the horse gave her a small thrill. Jake watched with a mixture of pride and relief. He knew it would take practice, but she was learning quickly and showing courage. As the sun began to lower toward the horizon, they finished the day's chores and returned to the ranch. Both were tired, their bodies aching from the physical work, but there was a quiet satisfaction in their accomplishments. Anna began to understand why Jake loved the land so much. There was a rhythm to ranch life, a connection to the earth, and a sense of pride in hard work that was deeply rewarding. That evening, after a hearty dinner cooked together, they sat by the fire. The light flickered across their faces, creating a warm, cozy atmosphere. Anna spoke about her journey, describing the towns she had passed, the people she had met, and the small challenges along the way. Jake listened, fascinated by her stories and impressed by her resilience. "I can't imagine making that journey alone," he said quietly. "It must have been difficult." "It was," Anna admitted, "but I wanted to come. I wanted a chance at a new life, and I thought, maybe this is it." Jake nodded. "I'm glad you came. I was worried you might not make it, but now that you're here, it feels right." For a moment they sat in silence, each lost in thought. Jake considered how life had brought him here, to a stranger who had traveled so far to meet him. Anna thought about the adventure she had chosen and the man who welcomed her into his home without hesitation. There was a quiet understanding forming between them, a sense that despite the challenges, they could find a way forward together. Over the next few days, the routine of ranch life continued. Anna worked alongside Jake, learning to handle the animals, repair fences, and manage the land. There were small mistakes, spilled feed, tangled ropes, and moments of clumsiness. But Jake never scolded her. Instead, he offered guidance, corrected gently, and encouraged her to try again. Anna began to appreciate the rhythm of the work. She learned to wait with the sun, move with purpose, and take pride in even the smallest tasks. The physical labor was demanding, but it brought a sense of accomplishment she had never known before. She also began to see the beauty of the plains, the wide open skies, the endless fields, and the quiet moments when the world seemed to stand still. Jake, for his part, noticed changes in himself as well. He had expected to teach Anna, but he found that he was learning from her too. Her perspective on life, her determination, and her gentle nature reminded him of the importance of patience and understanding. Narration. He realized that companionship was not just about sharing chores, but about sharing thoughts, emotions, and moments of connection. One afternoon, a small incident tested their growing trust. A calf had wandered away from the pen, and Jake needed to retrieve it quickly.
Anna volunteered to help, even though she was nervous about handling the animal.
Together, they managed to coax the calf back safely. When it was secured, Jake looked at Anna and smiled. "You did well," he said. "I'm glad you didn't give up." "I was nervous," she admitted, "but I didn't want to let you down." Jake shook his head. "You don't have to worry about that. We're a team now." That evening, as they cleaned up and prepared for dinner, there was a quiet sense of accomplishment between them. They had faced challenges, worked together, and supported each other. The delay in Anna's arrival no longer seemed important. What mattered was the trust and understanding they were building every day. Over the following week, Anna began to feel more comfortable in her new surroundings. She learned how to ride confidently, care for the animals, and help with the daily tasks that kept the ranch running. Jake continued to guide her, offering encouragement and sharing small insights about life on the plains. The bond between them grew steadily. They began to share stories of their pasts, dreams for the future, and even small jokes that brought laughter to the otherwise serious days. Jake found himself enjoying Anna's company more than he had imagined, and Anna realized that she had found a place where she belonged. By the end of the second week, the ranch no longer felt unfamiliar to Anna. She had adapted to the work, grown more confident in her abilities, and begun to feel a sense of belonging. Jake noticed the change in her, and he felt a quiet satisfaction knowing that she was becoming a part of the life he had built. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, they sat together on the porch. The air was cool, and the sounds of the plains surrounded them. For a moment, they simply enjoyed the quiet, feeling the comfort of companionship and the promise of something more. Jake broke the silence. "You've done well," he said softly. "I know it hasn't been easy, but I'm glad you're here."
Anna smiled, feeling warmth spread through her chest.
"I'm glad I came," she replied. "Even if I was a day late, it feels like I'm right where I'm supposed to be." Jake looked at her, a small smile on his face, and nodded. He realized that timing didn't always matter. What mattered was the effort, the courage, and the willingness to take a chance on each other. In that quiet moment, they both understood that the beginning of their life together had started. Not perfectly, not without challenges, but with promise, hope, and the first seeds of trust and affection. And as the stars began to twinkle in the wide open sky, both of them felt a sense of peace. They had faced uncertainty, worked hard, and begun building a connection that would grow stronger with each passing day. The ranch, once a place of solitude for Jake, was slowly becoming a home filled with laughter, companionship, and the quiet beginnings of love. The days on the ranch had settled into a rhythm, but for Jake and Anna each day brought something new. By now, Anna was beginning to feel more confident with the animals and the chores. She could ride the horse without fear, mend small sections of fence, and even help guide the cattle with surprising skill. Jake watched her carefully, silently proud, though he rarely said it aloud. One morning, the sun was barely over the horizon when Anna and Jake walked toward the barn. The smell of hay and the soft lowing of the cows filled the air. Anna adjusted her gloves and looked around, noticing how peaceful the ranch felt in the early hours. She liked these quiet moments before the heat of the day set in. "Today," Jake said, "we'll try something a little more challenging. I want you to help me check the far pastures. There are a few calves I need to count, and some fences might need fixing." Anna nodded. "I'm ready." The ride to the far pastures was longer than she expected, and Anna felt her muscles begin to ache. But the landscape was beautiful. The rolling plains stretched as far as she could see, dotted with wildflowers and small clusters of trees. A gentle breeze carried the scent of the earth and the animals, and for a moment, Anna forgot about the difficulty of the work. Jake noticed her glance around the fields. "It's not easy," he said, "but it's worth it. Out here, you can see how small problems matter, but also how much beauty there is if you take the time to notice." Anna smiled, appreciating his words. She had expected the ranch to be rough and tiring, but she hadn't realized it could be peaceful and inspiring at the same time. As they worked counting the calves and repairing fences, they began talking more freely. Anna shared stories from her childhood, playing with her siblings, the small town she had grown up in, and the dreams she had always held. Jake listened with interest, occasionally asking questions that made her reflect more deeply. In return, Jake shared parts of his life that he had rarely spoken about. He told her about growing up on the plains, learning to work with the animals, and the loneliness he had often felt. He described the satisfaction of a long day of hard work and the quiet nights under the stars. Anna noticed how gentle his voice became when he spoke about the things he loved. "Bray, you make it sound peaceful," she said quietly. "Even the hard work feels like it belongs here." "It's not always easy, but it's honest. And when someone cares about it with you, it becomes even better." Anna looked at him, realizing he wasn't just talking about the ranch. She felt a quiet warmth spread through her chest. They had spent so much time together in such a short period, but these conversations made her feel closer to him than she had expected. As they worked side by side, there were small moments that made Anna laugh. A calf would run off unexpectedly, or a horse would startle at a bird, and the two of them would scramble to regain control, ending in laughter at their own clumsiness. Jake noticed how her laughter lifted his spirits. It was light and genuine, and it made the long, tiring work feel less burdensome. By late afternoon, the work was done, and they walked back toward the ranch. The sun was beginning to set, casting golden light over the plains. Anna paused and looked out across the fields, feeling a sense of calm. "Breath. Thank you for letting me help," she said softly.
I know I'm still learning, but I feel like I belong here already.
You're doing fine. You're stronger than you think, and I'm glad you're here." They rose early, worked together, and shared meals in the evening. Anna became more comfortable with the horses, the cattle, and even the long hours. "Hey!" She learned to anticipate Jake's instructions and sometimes even finish tasks before he had to guide her. Jake, in turn, began to rely on her presence. Her energy and optimism added warmth to the ranch that he hadn't realized was missing. One afternoon, a small challenge brought them even closer. A sudden storm had rolled in unexpectedly, dark clouds covering the sky and strong winds blowing across the plains. The cattle were restless, and a few of the horses had escaped their pens. Jake and Anna had to act quickly to bring them back. Anna's heart raced, But she didn't hesitate. With Jake guiding her, she helped calm the animals and lead them to safety. Her hands were muddy, her clothes damp, and her hair stuck to her face. But she felt a rush of pride. "See," Jake said once the last horse was secured. "You kept calm." "That was good thinking." Anna smiled, panting slightly. "I was scared, but I knew we could handle it together." Jake looked at her with admiration. "That's exactly why this works. We trust each other." The storm passed, leaving a fresh, clean scent in the air. Rain had softened the earth, and the grass looked greener than before. Anna and Jake stood outside for a moment, watching the sun reappear behind the clouds. The challenge they had faced together felt like a turning point. They realized that not only could they work together, but they could also rely on each other when things were difficult. As the days passed, the bond between them deepened in small, quiet ways. They began sharing personal habits, like brewing morning coffee together, swapping stories during chores, and learning each other's preferences for meals and routines. Anna noticed that Jake would often watch her with a soft expression when he thought she wasn't looking. She found herself smiling more often, feeling a connection she hadn't expected so quickly. Jake, too, was aware of his feelings growing. At first, he had simply been looking for companionship, someone to share the ranch work with. But now he realized that he was beginning to care for Anna in a way that went beyond practical partnership. Her presence brought warmth, laughter, and comfort to his life. He admired her courage, her curiosity, and the way she approached challenges with determination. One evening, they sat on the porch together after a long day. The sky was painted with shades of orange and pink, and the cool evening air carried the scent of the earth and animals. They shared a quiet meal of stew and bread, speaking softly as they watched the shadows lengthen across the plains.
Jake, Anna began hesitantly, do you ever wonder if we made the right choice?
"That I came here so far from home?" Jake thought for a moment, then nodded. "I used to worry about that. But now I don't. Being here with you, it feels right. The timing might not have been perfect, but the choice we made, meeting each other, working together, it's been worth it."
Brave. Anna felt her heart lift at his words. She realized that he wasn't just talking about the ranch or the work. They were talking about their lives, about trust, connection, and the possibility of something lasting.
They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the sounds of the plains around them. A soft breeze rustled the trees, and the first stars began to appear in the wide-open sky.
Both Anna and Jake felt a quiet sense of peace.
They had faced challenges together, learned from each other, and begun to build trust that would grow stronger with each passing day. Over the next week, Anna continued to gain confidence in her new life. She learned to care for the animals more efficiently, anticipate problems before they arose, and even helped Jake plan some of the work around the ranch. Jake noticed how capable she had become and how naturally she had adapted to the ranch's demands. Personal. They also began to share more personal stories and dreams. Anna spoke about the life she had left behind, the reasons she wanted to find independence, and the hope she carried for a future where she could be both strong and loved. Jake shared his own experiences of loneliness, the challenges of ranch life, and the small joys that made him proud of the work he did. These conversations brought them closer. They learned to understand each other's perspectives, appreciate each other's strengths, and respect each other's limits. Anna realized that Jake was not just a rugged cowboy, but a thoughtful, kind man who had learned the value of patience and perseverance. Jake saw in Anna someone who was brave, compassionate, and willing to work through challenges without complaint. One afternoon, as they repaired a section of fence together, Jake looked at Anna and smiled. "You know, I wasn't sure how this would work at first," he admitted. "I thought the distance, the journey, the time, it might be too much. But seeing you here, working alongside me, I think it's going to be just fine. Anna laughed softly, wiping sweat from her brow. Bah, I wasn't sure either, but I'm glad I came. Even if I was a day late, it feels like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Jake's eyes softened, and he nodded.
Right on time, then. For a moment, they simply continued their work, feeling a quiet understanding pass between them. The bond they were forming was no longer just about learning chores or surviving on the ranch. It was about trust, respect, and the beginning of a deeper connection that neither had expected so soon.
By the end of part 3, Anna and Jake had learned not only to work together, but also to share moments of vulnerability and support.
They had faced challenges, laughed at small mishaps, and discovered that the bond forming between them was more meaningful than either had imagined. The ranch, once a place of hard work and solitude, had become a space where trust, friendship, and the early stirrings of love could grow. Days on the ranch had become routine, yet each day still brought its own small surprises. Jake and Anna had grown more comfortable with each other, learning not only how to handle the daily work, but also how to anticipate each other's needs. What had started as awkward cooperation was slowly turning into a genuine partnership. One morning, Anna woke to the smell of fresh coffee brewing. Jake had gotten up early, as usual, and was preparing breakfast. He smiled as she stepped into the kitchen, still rubbing the sleep from her eyes. "Morning," he said. "I made coffee. Thought you might like it before we start with the animals." Her smile, appreciating the gesture.
"Thank you," she replied, pouring herself a cup.
"It smells wonderful." They sat together in the small kitchen, enjoying the quiet moment before the day began. The morning sun streamed through the window, lighting up the room with warmth. Anna sipped her coffee, savoring both the taste and the calmness of the early hours. After breakfast, they set out to check the northern pasture. The day promised to be warm, and the animals were restless, eager to graze on the fresh grass after a light rain had passed during the night. Breaths. As they walked, Jake noticed how naturally Anna moved, no longer hesitant with the animals or unsure of her steps. She had grown stronger, more confident, and more comfortable in this environment. Rasp. "You're getting the hang of this," he said. "I can tell you've been paying attention." Anna nodded, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "I've learned from the best," she replied, smiling. Their work went smoothly for a few hours, until they noticed a small calf had wandered off toward a steep section of the pasture. Jake quickly signaled to Anna, and together they moved to guide it back. The calf was nervous and skittish, making small, quick movements that forced them to act carefully. Anna's heart raced as she gently spoke to the calf, encouraging it to move slowly. She remembered Jake's earlier lessons about patience and calmness. By step, she guided the animal back towards safety, and Jake followed closely, ready to intervene if needed. By the time the calf was back with the rest of the herd, Anna was breathing hard but smiling with pride. "You did well," Jake said quietly, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You stayed calm when it counted, and that made all the difference." Anna felt warmth spread through her chest at his words. She realized that moments like this were teaching her more than just ranch work. They were showing her the value of trust, patience, and teamwork. Later that afternoon, Jake suggested they repair an old section of fence near the creek. Anna was eager to help, even though the ground was uneven and the work was tough. They lifted heavy wooden posts together, hammered nails into place, and carefully aligned the boards. It was exhausting, but they worked side by side, exchanging small jokes and laughter to lighten the mood. During a brief pause, Anna sat on a rock, wiping sweat from her forehead. "Jake," she said thoughtfully, "I never realized how much work this takes. Best. It's harder than I expected, but it also feels rewarding."
Jake nodded, leaning against his own post.
"It's not easy, that's true, but there's satisfaction in doing things with your own hands, in seeing results from the work you put in." And it's better when you're not doing it alone. Anna looked at him, realizing the truth in his words. She wasn't just learning to work on the ranch. She was learning how to share responsibility, how to rely on someone, and how to be relied upon in return. As the sun began to set, the two of them finished the last of the repairs. They stood together looking at the newly fixed fence, the orange light casting long shadows across the ground. The work had been hard, but it felt good to see the results. Anna felt a deep sense of accomplishment, and Jake felt proud not just of the fence, but of Anna's perseverance and strength. The evening brought another opportunity for connection. While preparing dinner, Anna began sharing more personal stories from her past, small memories of her family, the friends she had left behind, and the challenges she had faced to make this journey. Jake listened attentively, offering comfort and encouragement when the stories became emotional. "You've been through a lot," he said gently. "I admire your courage to start over and make a new life here." Anna smiled, though a small shadow passed across her face. "I wasn't sure what I'd find when I came here," she admitted. "But being here working with you, it feels like I'm finding a place where I belong." Jake looked at her, noticing the honesty and emotion in her voice. He realized that what he felt for her was growing beyond simple companionship. He cared about her deeply and wanted to make sure she felt welcome, safe, and valued. Over the next few days, Anna and Jake faced additional challenges that tested both their skills and their trust in each other. One afternoon, a sudden storm rolled in without warning. Dark clouds filled the sky and strong winds whipped across the plains. The cattle became restless, and some tried to escape from their pens. Jake and Anna had to act quickly. Together, they guided the animals back to safety, securing the gates and calming the nervous livestock. The storm drenched them both, leaving their clothes soaked and their hair plastered to their faces. By the time the rain passed, they were exhausted but relieved.
You handled that well, Jake said, his voice filled with admiration.
"I'm glad you stayed calm and didn't panic." Anna laughed softly despite her tiredness. "I was scared," she admitted, "but I knew we could do it together." That evening, they sat by the fire, drying off and sharing a simple meal. The storm had left the air fresh and clean, and a sense of calm settled over the ranch. They talked quietly about the day, reflecting on how they had managed the unexpected challenge and how much they had relied on each other. Through moments like these, their bond grew stronger. They learned not just about the work, but about patience, courage, and the value of trusting someone completely. Anna realized that she could depend on Jake for guidance, protection, and understanding. Jake realized that he could trust Anna to stay calm, think clearly, and act responsibly when situations became difficult. One morning, as they prepared to feed the animals, Jake noticed Anna looking out over the plains. She seemed thoughtful, almost contemplative. "What are you thinking about?" he asked gently. Anna turned to him, her eyes reflecting the morning light. I was just thinking. This place, the work, the life we're building. Narration. It's more than I expected, and I feel happy. Even with the hard work, I feel like I've found something real here.
Jake felt a warm feeling in his chest. "I feel the same," he said.
You've brought something to this place that wasn't here before. It's not just the work. We have each other, and that makes everything better. As the days passed, they continued to grow closer. Both small gestures became meaningful. Jake bringing her a warm cup of coffee in the morning. Anna making sure the tools were ready for the day, both of them sharing quiet conversations by the fire. Their laughter filled the ranch, and even the long, tiring days felt lighter because they were together. One evening, after a long day of work, they sat on the porch watching the sunset. The sky was painted in soft shades of pink and orange, and the air was warm and gentle. Anna rested her head on Jake's shoulder, feeling a sense of contentment she had never experienced before. You... She said softly, I wasn't sure I'd fit in here at first, but now I can't imagine being anywhere else. Rasp. You belong here, he replied. Not just on the ranch, but here, with me.
I'm glad you came, even if you were a day late. Anna smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest that went beyond the comfort of companionship.
She realized that the journey, the work, and the challenges had all led to this moment, one where she felt understood, appreciated, and valued. In those quiet evenings on the porch, watching the stars appear over the plains, Jake and Anna discovered the depth of their growing bond. It was more than friendship or partnership. It was trust, respect, and the early stirrings of love. They had faced challenges, learned from mistakes, and celebrated small victories together. And through it all, they had discovered that timing didn't matter as much as the connection they were building. By the end of Part 4, their relationship had deepened into something real and meaningful. They were no longer just two people working on a ranch. They were partners in every sense. They had learned to support each other, trust each other, and enjoy the small joys of life together. The ranch, once a place of solitude for Jake, had become a home filled with laughter, shared responsibilities, and the quiet beginnings of love that promised to grow stronger with each passing day.